All right, let's talk about something that's a real headache for pretty much every accounting firm out there: communication chaos. Today, we're diving into a tool called NuMetric Connect, which is designed to take your team's entire workflow and pull it all together into one single collaborative hub.
But hey, before we jump into the solution, let's really set the stage with the problem. I mean, if you're working in a busy firm, you know the feeling. It's organized chaos, right? Information is everywhere, deadlines are always looming, and just trying to get everybody on the same page can feel like a full-time job.
So, does this sound familiar to you? Your team is trying to talk, but the conversations are happening all over the place. You're constantly hopping between your email, a chat app, and then back to your accounting software just to get a simple task done. This isn't just inefficient, it's a huge source of friction that slows your entire firm down.
And all that friction? Well, it leads to some very common frustrations. You know the ones. You're drowning in these endless email chains trying to find that one piece of info. You're digging through chat threads for the latest version of a file. And every single time you switch apps, you completely lose your focus. But you know, the biggest problem of all is that the conversations are happening totally separate from the work itself.
This is exactly the kind of chaos that NuMetric Connect was built to fix. Think of it less like just another tool, and more like an integrated command center for your whole firm.
The promise here is really simple and honestly pretty powerful. Just stop juggling all those scattered platforms. I mean, imagine your entire firm completely in sync without ever having to leave your main workspace. That's the goal here.
And here's the most important part. This is not some separate app you have to tack on. It's built directly into the NuMetric platform. It's meant to be a totally seamless part of your workflow, not yet another interruption. So the takeaway is pretty clear. NuMetric Connect becomes your team's central hub. It's where you communicate, it's where you coordinate, and it all happens right where the work is actually getting done. Everything, together, in one spot.
Okay, so how does this actually work day to day? Let's take a quick look at the core features that make this whole collaboration and context thing a reality.
First up is what's called contextual messaging. Now, this isn't just your standard chat. You can literally start a conversation or drop a comment directly on a client's profile, a specific transaction, or a report. What does that mean? It means no more taking screenshots and pasting links to explain what you're talking about. The context is already there. Now, to keep all these conversations from becoming a mess, you've got channels. You can create them for pretty much anything. Maybe a channel for the payroll department for a specific client, or a big project like the year-end closing. It just creates this dedicated, focused space for each team so discussions are easy to find later. And here's another huge win: file sharing. When you share a document, it's not just floating at a random chat. It's embedded right there in the conversation, tied to that specific transaction or report. So everyone is literally on the same page. And it goes beyond just chat and files. You also get task management built right in. You can create and assign tasks, track due dates, and see the progress all at a glance. This is absolutely perfect for managing things like the monthly close, your reconciliation routines, or getting ready for an audit.
All right, now for what might be the most interesting part of this whole system: the way NuMetric thinks about workflow approvals. This is such a critical process for any accounting firm.
So let's compare. You know the old way, right? It's often really rigid with predefined steps that can slow everything down. The NuMetric way, on the other hand, is all about flexible, visible communication. The decisions are happening right next to the work, and because it's all out in the open, responsibility is super clear and traceable.
So what does this actually look like? Well, it's super simple. A bill gets created in the system. A task is then assigned to the reviewer that says something like, "Hey, review and confirm this bill." That person can ask questions in the chat, share supporting documents right there, and once everyone's on board, they just mark the task as complete, and the bill moves on. That's it.
But wait, you might be thinking, what about the audit trail? And that's the beautiful part. The entire process, the task, the discussion, the files, the final sign-off, it all stays visible right there inside Connect. The conversation history is the approval trail.
So when you put all of this together, what's the big advantage for your firm? What does this all really add up to?
Well, when you bring everything into one place, you're obviously going to slash miscommunication. And because the work and the conversations are finally in the same spot, you get back all those hours lost to context switching, which gives you a major productivity boost. Everything stays connected to your core accounting workflow. And of course, you get to eliminate the cost and the headache of jumping between all those different platforms.
The final message here is simple, but it's really powerful. Start collaborating where your work actually lives. Instead of pulling your team out into other apps, you bring the collaboration in. And that really just leaves one question: How much time and energy could your firm get back by finally closing all those extra tabs for good?